I hope you enjoyed the presentations yesterday from experts of pearls all over the world. We have some more today, and we're starting over with a panel. It's an open panel talk with Mohammed Al Mahmood and Adi Al Fardan from the UAE on pearls and trade, moderated by Kenneth Scarratt. They will talk about the origins and modern trade usage of the term keshi when used in connection with pearls or cultural pearls.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are deeply honored to have in our presence this morning Adi Al Fardan, Mohammed Al Mahmood.
Good morning.
Two very eminent members of the pearl trade in the Gulf. Adi is based in Dubai, and Mohammed in Bahrain, and I think a few other places. So this is a panel session. When you are free to ask these two wonderful gentlemen almost anything you want to ask about natural pearls. I guess if you want to ask about cultured pearls, that's okay as well. In the Gulf. And just to kick it off, I have a few awkward questions to give these guys. So I'm going to kick the questioning off, if you don't mind, with my first question, which really is as asking for a comment. A comment on the current state or size of the local and global natural pearl markets. Can you comment on it, please? The size and the state.
Good morning. Do you want to start? You go ahead. No. Well, to start with, as we all know, pearls are beautiful. Pearls are the queen of gems and the gem of all queens. And ever since the inception of humanity, pearls have always been sought after by kings and queens of the world. Now, luckily, the world's best pearls came out of this beautiful area, let's say, starting from south of Iraq, going into Kuwait, coming to Bahrain, all the way to the UAE, the Arabian Gulf or Persian Gulf, whatever they call it. Pearls, unfortunately, after the 1960s, became very scarce. There were many different reasons. Scientists have reasons. The people who work, let's say, the environmentalists have a reason. People, even my grandfather, they say that pearls stopped being produced as they used to be because of less rain, which makes absolute no sense. Now, regarding the question, the current state and size of the local and global natural pearls market, it is really difficult to quantify it, as there is a handful of people globally that work together, and they all know each other, that work together in trying to push this industry. After all, pearls, natural pearls to be specific, are very rare, and they are collectible pieces. And it is up to us to push it out to inform the younger generation, the millennials and Generation Z, of the importance of this beautiful gemstone, to make them more attracted to it and understand it better.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to have all of you in Bahrain. And we wish that Bahrain, it was and to be the main hub of natural pearls. Replying on Mr. Ken's answer, most of 90% of words Mr. Adil, he informed you about the pearls and how important is our natural pearls right now. But alhamdulillah, in the last, let's say, 20 years, the market start to grow. Right now in Bahrain, we have around 3,000 divers, which diving, like, let's say, on weekly basis. Some of them they dive once a week, some of them they dive 5 times a week. Alhamdulillah, the quantity of pearls is increasing in our market. Every day we start to have an excellent and very good quality of pearls. This is why I think the government need to take an action and to support the natural pearls in Bahrain. Alhamdulillah, we have Donat Lab. They are trying their maximum. Okay, they're working a lot. They have a lot of new technology, new machines. They're working on to see the difference between the natural and the culture, or let's say the natural and the cashy pearls. Please.
Thank you, Mohammed. The next question, I think you answered part of the next question there, but that's okay. I'm going to put it anyway. Okay, and it's relative to what you said. I mean, okay, we see there's some problems. We see there's been a decrease and then a gradual increase again, and there's a lot more divers than there were before in Bahrain. So that's fantastic news. I see actually in our Pearl report, the Sibjo Pearl report, there are a couple of images that we put in that of 2 beautiful natural pearls still in the mollusks there that have recently fished. So that's fantastic.
See, like a lot of people, they think like 99% of the pearls in the world, it's culture. It is not correct. Let's say 60% of the pearls which is available in the market, it's natural pearls. And most of these pearls are from the Gulf. Because the Gulf in the region, or let's say Bahrain, it was the main hub since 4,500 years. People was diving since that time for natural pearls. Plus there was around, on the studies and the things which I was reading about it and what I learned from the old people, like my grandfather and the older people who's in the market, they were saying there was around more than 5,000 dhow leaving from Bahrain. 2,500 dhow only from Bahrain, and the rest they was from the area, like from Kuwait, from Saudi Arabia, from UAE, from Oman. Some of them they was coming from like Kuwait side, and some of them was coming from Iraq side, which was a small number of divers. This is why people need to know that more than 60% of the pearls in the world, it's natural pearls, and it's historical pearls, and it's old. Please.
It's a very interesting stat. Thank you very much, because I think most people think the culture pearl market is up there in the 90s.
Correct.
So thank you very much for that. So my next question is, what can be done to raise the profile? So we have 60% of the market, as you're saying, is on natural pearls, which could very well be the case. But what can we do to raise the profile of a natural pearl globally?
Like now in Bahrain, I'll speak first about Bahrain, then I will speak globally. In Bahrain, we have a very good support from the government right now. They don't accept culture pearls to enter to Bahrain market, and we are not allowed to deal with. This is number one. Number two, they start to give a diving license. Right now, we have around 3,000 divers this year. Last year, we was talking about 1,500 to 2,000 divers. Now we reach to 3,000 divers, and I wish soon it will reach more than 5,000 divers. Before, usually in the market, we receive like 2 divers in a week in the old times. Now we start to receive every day minimum between 3 to 5 divers, which they are selling pearls from Bahrain. This thing start to help us to bring our name back in Bahrain. Number two, the government, they start to give they start to write about the different, like Donat, you start to write about the natural pearls and what is natural pearls and what's the difference between the natural and culture. Right now we have like a big market which is entering on our natural, like the cashy pearls. Danat, they are trying their maximum to get rid of the cashew pearls. And this is something very important because it's affecting our market. In the world, people like the people from each country, they need to take care. They have communities. They need to teach people what's the difference between natural and culture. Like Mr. Al Fardan in Dubai, mashallah, you can see him on his post on his Instagram. He's trying to teach people. He's trying to speak about his culture, and he feels so famous about his culture. As the same, we feel famous about our culture. This is why, the rest of countries, rest of labs need to teach people to make small movies, small films on Instagram or media, to teach people what's the difference between the culture pearl and what's the worth of this natural pearl.
Completely agree. Yes.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for your kind words. Now, of course, you come from a very prominent family.
Thank you so much.
My father's telling me all about the stories of the past.
Thank you.
Now, let me speak from a different perspective. Bahrain, what I really respect about this country, one thing I really respect is the power they have and the love that is built toward natural pearls. There is so much emphasis on developing that idea of natural pearls, on bringing it back to life, and you could see it all around the Gulf. That when people mention natural pearls, they say Bahraini pearls. I want Bahraini pearls. I don't want whatever pearls there is, Bahraini pearls. That's the word. In the UAE, in Oman, in Saudi Arabia, the word is there. Now, if we look at this and look at a different example, an example of 100 years ago. If you would go to India today, natural pearls are referred to as Basra pearls. Now, Basra is a small city in Iraq. Not a small city, but it's a city in Iraq. And Basra has no pearls at all. What used to happen is that back in the Ottoman period, I think it started with the Abbasid and then the Ottomans, Basra was a trading route between Europe, some countries of Europe, and Asia, where the merchants used to meet and they used to buy and sell pearls. Now, initially, the divers that used to come and extract the pearls from this region used to be Indians, before the Arabs come in and they learn. They actually learned it from the Indians. So once the pearls got extracted, they used to take it to Basra and sell it and, make a living out of it. It was a method of exchange. This became so prominent that till today, you go to India, they don't understand what a natural pearl is. You go to them, they tell you it's a Basra pearl. Same thing is happening with Bahrain currently. You go all around the Gulf, when you speak about pearls, it is Bahraini pearls. I want Bahraini pearls. I love Bahraini pearls. And that's something to respect and emphasize on. Now, to look at the future generations. If you would look at the current rates going into the global market of jewelry, the market is changing very heavily and very drastically. The traditional method of doing business 10 years ago is no longer the case. The traditional activities of being in the media 10 years ago is no longer the case. Things are changing very rapidly and very quickly. And it is up to us, all of us together. Here is the industry that deals with natural pearls. All of us together, and with the support of our good friends, to develop the ideology and the importance of this beautiful gemstone, to distinguish it and keep it and give it what it deserves.
Thank you, Adi. So basically what you're saying is talk more. Talk a lot about natural pearls, making people very much aware of it. And pearls don't come from Basra. They are predominantly talked about today as Bahraini pearls, which is fantastic news. Thank you. So my third question, And this is really quite an important one in terms of, we have the ongoing SIBJO Congress here and so on, and everyone's talking about sustainability in a big sort of way. So do you have any comments on the sustainability of the natural pearl industry and the preservation of these wonderful pearl beds that we have surrounding these islands?
I think that all the governments in the Gulf or worldwide, they need to teach people and say for them, please go and dive for pearls. Because a lot of people, they have like in their mind that it's like a fish, or it's like if you will grab this kind of shell later on, you will not find it in the future. This is not correct. Because in the beginning of my speech, I was talking about 5,000 dhow in that time. Each dhow there was, let's say, between 100 or 200 divers. They was cleaning the full sea from down Oman going up to Kuwait or reaching to Basra area, to that area, As much they was collecting in the last 5,000 years, still there is people, they think that don't move shells and don't collect or don't fish for pearls, because it will, it will be, you can't find it later on. This is not correct. This is the life. It's like a birth, like a people, like a person, like a fish. We need to dive for it. And there is some people, they say that the shells, as much you collect, it do clean the sea. Because some of the divers, they say, like after Kuwait and Iraq war in that time, there was a lot of oil in the sea. Most of the divers that time, they was collecting shells. And what I heard from them and what I heard from my dad and divers, they say, the place where there was an oil, if they move a shell, the sand under the shell, it's white and clean. It means that the shell, it's like a filter. It do clean the place. So this is why this thing needs to be continuous. Should not stop.
Yeah, completely correct. From an ecological point of view, if we would look at the time when there was the boom of pearls from 1870s up to 1940s, where the Great Depression came into place, as Mr. Mahmood said, there were thousands, literally thousands of those going out every day to extract the natural pearls from the region. Now, maybe at some points they overdid it, and there was too much supply in the market, and at the same time they exhausted a lot of what was available back then in terms of natural pearls. But as you rightly mentioned, what happened later on, natural pearls, it will be there as long as it's well taken care of from a governmental perspective, as long as the beds where the natural pearls are extracted from are well preserved, done very scientifically in today's world, taken care of, let's say, we should have no problem at all in getting more pearls into this beautiful world.
Thank you very much. That's very comforting. And in fact, one of my observations over the last many years has been that if we look back at one of the talks that was given yesterday, 7,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, you were fishing for pearls in the same waters that you're fishing for pearls today. And one of the comments that I made to a friend of mine not so long ago was, how many gemstone mines are operating for 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years? Very, very few. And yet, the waters around Bahrain, the Gulf in general, have been producing the required number of mollusks to produce the natural pearls for all those years. So maybe when people talk about sustainability in the ocean and so on, the focus maybe should not be on the mollusk itself, because it seems to be pretty hardy, but more on, let's keep the oceans clean. Would you agree?
100%.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to throw open a few questions from the audience that we have not prepped you on.
I have one last comment, if you don't mind. Robert, could you stand up, please, with the book? I read this book over 30 times. I kid you not. Could you just show it to everyone around? No, properly. Just hold it properly. Turn it around. I highly suggest. I would highly recommend. Do you have it? No. I will send you one. Sure. I would highly recommend you getting this book. There are free copies with Robert right now, and read it. It holds a lot of beautiful information of this region.
Robert, you make a wonderful model. Yeah. Yeah, I had a brief look at it earlier on. It is fantastic. Yeah. I have a question from the audience, I think. Oh, well, Hanko. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay, let me repeat it.
I have a microphone. So, as you have so many divers now collecting shells, do you have any system of monitoring that they do not collect too many shells? So, thinking of sustainability and all that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I wish that we have more divers. This is number one, I wish. But there should be a rule. We need to follow up the old rules, which the old diver was going on, like diving for 6 months or 8 months, and they was stopping fishing pearls for the rest. To give a chance for, like, there's a lot of different ideas. Some people, they say, like, and this is thing which I believe, that the shell comes from a different place and it gets stuck in our sea. And other people, they think it's like a birth. It do birth and born in Bahrain. You know, like there's different ideas, different things. I think it do comes from different places to our sea, like the birds and the fish. This is why we need to give a chance. There should be a rule. Diving for 6 or 8 months, then we give a chance for shells to come back to the same place. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Hajima Saiyan. I'm from University of Bahrain. As a result of the research which we have done back in the university, I have some comment to add, if you allow me, please. With regard to the experiment which my colleague yesterday have talked about, we have collected spat of the pearl oyster in very large numbers, as I will also explain later on in my talk. And pearl oyster in Bahrain, still they are very large in numbers. I have seen underwater video of one of the beds. The density of the oyster is very huge to the extent that you cannot see the original bottom. This is one of the oyster bed in offshore area of Bahrain. In addition, collecting oyster spat, we made a calculation. If we put 200 oyster wrens, empty oyster shells, in selected places, you can collect up to 1 million of oyster spat. So very large number of oyster exist, but this doesn't mean that we do not need for regulation. Now, the pearl oyster is the only natural resources in Bahrain which will still exist in abundance, as my colleague yesterday has highlighted, Dr. Robert. So, we need regulation. In Kuwait, they have regulation because a long time ago. If we do something similar or even more, in order to preserve our quantity. Now, fisheries have declined. Now, fresh water has declined. These are all natural resources. So we have still the pearl oyster, which is the only natural resource still in existence. And luckily, the government now become very much interested, and we are all for to do more research. We need more research to do in order to know what is the actual stock which we have. As a biologist, I'm interested in the biology of the pearl oyster, in order to understand how to encourage to use different means to increase the natural pearls. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. A lot of hands going up all of a sudden. Okay.
As per the information I have, there is regulation, there is monitoring, but it has to be a little bit more strict and we have to be more vigilant. There is a limitation fixed that every diver can take certain number of shells, but we know people are violating it. So regulation is there, monitoring is not that much very strict.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'd like to thank everyone responsible for the fine hospitality that we have received. I have 2 points. First, I'd like to address the wonderful book that Dr. Rob has created. The copies are not available. I went online. Amazon offers 1 copy available for $975.
Really?
What I would like to suggest for your consideration would to be provide an endowment. You, as my understanding is, this is the first edition with second, third, fourth editions coming of the Pearl Symposium. It would be wonderful to fund the book again. Thank you. My second point, as much as I enjoy education and all of these organizations, I am definitely involved in sales. And one thing that I would just like to put in the air, during the 1950s and 60s and the 70s, the United States had tremendous success in the marketing of the generic diamond. That market has fallen short in a significant way. We don't have anyone exercising this option in colored stones, and we do not have anyone currently exercising this option in pearls. I think that there's a reason to look back into history and see how the prominence of diamond came about, how it became, and how it can affect the future of pearl. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take one more question. Stefanos, I think, is at the back there. He's been champing at the bit now for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Okay. I will cheat a bit. I have 2 comments. The first is, okay, let's talk about the ecological part of the radiatas here, of the cells here. It's what I am not biologist, but with the little I understand, is that the radiatas these animals are invasive. So if we let them grow without collecting them, they will cause a problem to the rest of the ecosystem. So it's a kind of sustainable to collect some shells to look for pearls as a byproduct or whatever, but we should collect some shells in the Gulf. Now the question is how many and what is considered as a healthy, let's say, area, like 10 cells per meter square or more. Okay, now a serious question. If you can answer, both of you, how many new necklaces are you doing per year, high-end? With new pearls, I mean, not from your old stock. How many new necklaces you are producing per year? Don't give me an exact number. 1, 10, 100, or 1,000. Just an order of magnitude.
Answering your question, like, you can do as much you want from necklaces, from the pearls which you find. But for our family, for our business, we try to have the best necklaces. Like to have a G1 necklace, a perfect necklace, like, let's say 95% the same luster, 95% the same color, graduated, the same quality. it's not easy to have this kind of a necklace in a year. Sometime maybe, let's say you are lucky. To have like a normal necklaces, a Baroque type, a normal necklace, it's easy. You can do as much you can from your collection. From the Baroque type, you can do like most of your collection with the different colors. But for our name, our family, and thing what I learned from my father, if you want to do something, do it correct. Give your customer the best. Take care of your name. This is what we are working on. The rest of pearls, we use it in our jewelry, like traditional jewelry, fashion jewelry. A normal necklaces, like a medium necklaces, maybe we can do 15, 20 necklace. But if we have like more divers and more pearls like before, I remember when I was like maybe 15 years in that time, I do remember every week we receive 2 to 3 divers. Each diver have minimum in his pocket like 1 kg of pearls. This was weekly. Maybe Mr. Nick, at that time he was in Bahrain, he do remember these things. And Mr. King, maybe he do remember in that time in 80s or 90s. Now, if we can collect in a month half kg, we are so lucky. We wish that we have rules, regulation, and extra divers. Then we can do a lot of good necklaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Now as Mr. Mohammed rightly mentioned, in terms of Baroques, which is widely available, you can create as many necklaces as you want. But when you look at the G1s, which is the higher segment, the best of the best, to create a perfectly matching high jewelry necklace, it does take time. You need to collect it from the stock you have, and at some point you need to go out to the market and see what's available to make that perfect necklace. Some of the necklaces have taken my father probably 7 to 8, maybe some of them 10 years to make. One necklace, 10 years. Takes time.
Okay, Robert, I'll let you have it.
Thank you.
The last one.
Just a very quick question. Very interesting that people signing law now in Bahrain to try and supply your market for national pearls. Are you aware of them doing anywhere else in the traditional fisheries of the Red Sea or India or anything? Or is it just Bahrain that this happens?
Like in Bahrain and in the region, there is like some divers in the region next to us in the Gulf, but I don't know what's their number. I don't have a correct number about like Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or UAE. Maybe Mr. Adi, he can give us more numbers about UAE, but Bahrain, let's say 90% sure about the numbers of Bahrain. In Saudi Arabia, they are very rare. Some people, they do dive like in Oman side. There is like between 100 to 300 divers in Kuwait. But UAE, inshallah, he can answer you about UAE.
I can tell you that the UAE, it's not a common activity. It is not widely spread in the market, in the country, sorry. And people do it for fun. It's scuba divers, but it's not a very, let's say, professional matter. In Oman, we've been noticing a lot of divers coming up. In fact, some of them have been bringing beautiful pearls from the northern side of the UAE, which is Oman, called Khasab. Some from, nothing from Muscat, Khasab mainly, Khasab area, yeah. Saudi Arabia, very less.
Very less.
Very less. Bahrain would be the prominent region, let's say.
Thank you so much for allowing me the last question. I have a general question for both gentlemen, Mr. Ali and Mohammed. Now, which international market regulates the pearl price? As far as I know, or please correct me if I am wrong, there is boards for diamond globally that regulates or estimate the price of diamond. But what about pearls? Is there any international market deal with this thing? This is my question. Now for you, can I? Yes, please. Yeah. For Mr. Ali, if you could enlighten us on the present status of natural pearls in UAE and also cultured pearls. Yeah. And my question to or comment to Mr. Mohammed Al Mahmood. You have mentioned that we have now 3,000 divers diving for pearls, and it may rise to 5,000. Now we have the regulations, but we need monitoring. Monitoring is a must. In my presentation yesterday, I indicated that we have collected 1 million oysters, and that is maybe a small part of the whole stock. But still, however, we have a huge stock. The monitoring is a must. We have the regulations, but we need monitoring. Now, in terms of the oysters, now there's the public people believe that the more we clean the beds, the more the better quality pearls we have. I personally don't believe this much of that, because the biology of whale oyster tells us that the oysters spawn. They spawn sperms and eggs. And then those sperm and eggs, they get fertilized in the water column, and then they get drifted by the currents. So what is spawned here in area A, it might eventually settle in area C, which is maybe 100 kilometers away. So maybe the oysters which spawn in Kuwait, for instance, they finally settle in Bahrain. So this is my belief, actually. Yeah.
And we don't have an immigration policy, right?
No, no, of course not. No, I'm just telling that this general belief that the more we clean the sea, the more we get the better pearls, quality-wise. It is not that.
I think there's a lot of questions there. So can we make really brief answers, because we're short on time. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for your question. Number one, alhamdulillah, that we start in Bahrain to follow rules. There is a regulations, okay? But before we don't have these rules and regulation, alhamdulillah, that the government and the ministry start to put the rules and regulation. And we wish that there will be more rules and regulation to help the divers, to help the market, okay? And to take care of our sea. This is very important. Before there was nothing. Now, alhamdulillah, we have like 60% or more than that rules and regulation. And soon, inshallah, with the ministry and with your help and everyone help here, we can have more rules and regulation for the diving. Number two, for the theory of the pearl movement. There is a lot of theory. Your theory is correct. I can't say it's wrong, because we do learn from doctors like you, from people and from experts and from diver when they say the way of pearl, where from it comes and how does it travel. I can't say yes or no. What you say, it's correct. And there is a lot of different theory. Plus the third question, I don't remember it.
The pricing.
The pricing. The pricing, there is two different ways. The pearl market, it's a connection. Most of the pearl dealers, there is a connection between each other. Like we have a connection between the dealers in Bahrain, some in Europe, some in US market, some in different market like India market, and the rest. Okay, we do know that this kind of quality, it's worth this much of amount. But let's say if I'm interested in this quality, I will not pay like the rest. If they pay $100, maybe I'm interested. I need it. I can pay $150 or $250. And maybe, let's say, the market value is $200 and I have enough and I don't need it, I will not pay that amount. It's like connection. By connection, we can know the prices of the pearls. Thank you. Inshallah, jawab yakun wafi lak, inshallah. Shukran.
That's correct. And to add on, if you remind me of that, on the pricing of pearls, there isn't a central market regulation or a center like the diamonds that we have the Rappaports. For pearls, it's really a game of traders. Now, of course, globally and in the books, we see that it's measured with carats. You get the weight of pearls with carats. When actually with traders, including Mohammed, we deal with it in chows. You do deal with it in chows, yeah?
Correct.
We deal with it in chows, which is a complete different... There's a certain calculation between carats, the weight, to get the weight of the pearl, and chows.
An ounce.
Sorry? Yeah.
People, they use ounce.
Yeah.
Some people, they use grain.
Yeah, correct. Now, to look at the pricing structure, I would say what sets the prices today predominantly is a mix between the traders in the region, which is a handful, a mix of the traders in Mumbai and some of in Asia. They deal with each other, all of them. And they set the pricing today of the natural pearls, some which could be antiques and some which could be new pearls. So I think that's the way it goes forward.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. I think we ran over time a little bit, but very much worthwhile. I wish we could go on now for another couple of hours, because I'm sure there's a lot more questions. But if you do have more questions, I hope they're going to stick around for a while, and you can call them and anytime you like and drill them for answers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for us. It's a pleasure. Thank you.